just like I said last hour, we'll try to keep this somewhat short on what we're actually going through. So, how many types of movement is there, or not is there, how many types of movement are there for food to be moving through your small intestine? There are two. How are they different? One, we said in class, does what, and the other one does what? Circular. Okay, so one way to look at that, okay, is since it's circular, okay, it grabs like this, and as that's contracting like this, another set of muscles does what? True, and when you say that, it's this type, which would be called what? Longitudinal. So as this is contracting, it kind of spins that going through your small intestine. And why is that an advantage, or why is that important for us to take place? Because what's happening in the small intestine? Are you saying absorption of nutrients? Okay, that's what I thought I heard, but okay, and that's right. So as that is mixing and propelling through the small intestine, you can absorb all of those nutrients. All right. And then it was a word on the bottom of where we left off. What is that process called as food is moving through your small intestine? It's a specific name. Starts with a P. Peristalsis. Okay? That is correct. So when we call this process of peristalsis, it's propelling our movements through your digestive tract, especially your intestines. Okay. And then I believe this is where we pick up, correct? All right. Unfortunately, what can happen, I think the best way to look at this is late March, early April. What sport are we in? Okay, so we're in the track season. Basketball season has concluded. And if it is particularly cold, now that definition of cold or cool is going to be different for everybody. In your estimation, April 2nd, what is cold to you? 50s, 60s, 40s? Did you say 30s? 40s? So the problem with that is when we are outside in early April and it's in the low 50s and it's the track season, what is very, very important for you sprinters to do? You need to stretch, okay? And you're stretching your muscles, okay? So whether it's muscles in your calves, your hamstrings, or your quads, those are all susceptible to, let's say, pulling a muscle. That's the clue. Any muscle can be pulled. In other words, stretched beyond what it normally should do. So if that's what happens to muscles, would it be any stretch of the imagination that you can stretch these muscles too? And the answer would be no. And sometimes it might stick out in your mind, You take a big bite or something and you swallow it too quickly and it just seems to hurt your esophagus as it goes down. And it happens to everybody, whether it's something to drink or something to eat, it happens. But typically, when that happens when you drink liquids, seems like if you have a little bit of air in there and you swallow, then hiccups. So, and for everybody, what's the remedy for, what do you think is the most common remedy for hiccups, do you think? What works for you? Holding your breath, drink straight water for 10 seconds. Yeah, maybe 10 minutes. I really don't know. But yeah, that can be kind of painful in your esophagus because just like any other muscle, it can be pulled. All right. Okay. Now, one of the things we'll probably be talking about next week, saliva is actually a pretty vague term. Just like we could say biology is a vague term. I want you to think about that for just a moment. And then as you're looking at this right here, okay, also want you to, is there any types of disorders that you can see that may have to be surgically corrected with that bottom line? Cleft palate. What, you are correct, that would be one. What does that mean? Yeah, there's a hole on the roof of their mouth. So if someone has a cleft palate, like what we're talking about here, is there another spot that could be a cleft something? Yeah, a cleft lip, which means for some reason there's a gap in between the top of their lips. Now, this probably, it's not that either one of those are serious. It's just, as in today's society, that's how we initially judge people when we see them for the first time. It's, what do we typically notice first? The face. Okay, and thank our lucky stars that living here in this country. If you remember from 1 and 2 years ago, you remember that facial surgeries that you had seen, and some of them can be quite severe. And there again, luckily we live in a society where we can have those corrected. Okay, so back to this. We said that is a very vague term, just like when I say, why would biology be a very vague term? Because there's more than one type of biology, because we're in one of them right now. Anatomy and physiology. What's another biology? Microbiology. There's another one listed up there. Zoology. And of course, genetics, molecular biology. There's a lot of those that you could refer. So when we say just saliva, that's kind of a vague term. Biology, that's a vague term. There's actually 3 components that make up saliva. We'll be talking about that a little bit next week. One is water, but again, if you spit out and it's just saliva, does it seem like it's just water, or do you think it's a little more thick than that? And it is more thick, more thick, or thicker. That's how you say it, right? Okay. So it's thicker, and then there might be one other component that has something to do with your potato chips that we talked about earlier this week. It's something that breaks down starch. You don't need to know the specific name of that and specific name of that blank, but what is it that would break down starch? A specific what? I was starting to say it. Starts with an E. A specific enzyme known as amylase. So when we talk about saliva, you got water, mucus, and amylase in there. Three components that make up your saliva. All right. So one of the things that I typically do during this first week is, I'm sure your parents maybe remembered, yes, success. Okay, we'll take care of it. Thank you. Will do. And they may remember when this show went off the air after 11 seasons. And it probably is one of the shows that really changed TV history, because how can you make a comedy about war? How can you make war funny? Well, you really can't. It probably would be tough. But does anyone know what show that might be that we're talking about? Starts with an M. MASH, okay? Which means Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. And that they started to come up with that idea in World War II. I don't think it was very feasible, but in the Korean War, that's when these hospitals were more common to treat wounded as they came in. And what this episode deals with, there's two things. One aspect is the human body can really take care of itself, provided it has the opportunity to do so. But in certain cases, there is too much stress on the body. Sometimes there's just too much stress on that body that it can't handle, and that's where surgery would come in. My dad had given me the example, our mail carrier, I can't imagine how horrible this would be, but when he was over in Vietnam, I think he got through onto the dead pile, if you want to call it that, and he ended up crawling off. How horrible you can't even imagine how horrible that would be. Well, you can maybe try. I can't, but that's what this episode deals with. Is there's a patient that comes in and had a lot of stress on his body, probably would not have made it, but they surgically saved his life. And then there's another one that talks about one of the things we refer to when it comes to malnutrition. We think that's fairly common for us to talk about. We know what it is. But back in the 50s, that was probably a term that just wasn't very well known at that time. So they talk about this soldier in here. And I think the most important aspect about this is when we're dealing with some of these problems that you have to go through in daily life, they're probably not going to get any better if you perhaps choose not to talk about them. So, of course, we're talking about a war situation as opposed to our day-to-day lives. In other words, something is really, really bothering you. You're not doing yourself any favors by not talking to your pastor, not talking to your priest, your parents, your doctor, an administrator, teacher, whatever. Believe it or not, there's a lot more life experience that those prior examples may have to help you through that process. So we're going to take a little bit of time to watch this episode, and then next week, again, we will continue with this digestion. All right. It is actually pretty good. Hopefully you find it something.
Halloween party. It might be amusing to watch a ghost boozing and see if it can.
Rather than sing, Supermouth, why not try leaping off a tall building with a single bound?
Can't help it, Charles. My voice is more powerful than a locomotive.
Well, Clark, how do I look?
Oh, the classic clown.
What do you reckon?
Big nose, baggy pants. And wherever did you get those gigantic, ridiculous feet?
From my father's side, his sister Selma. Will you hurry up with that? We gotta get over to Rosie's before the Marines start eating the bar.
I hope these guys had the same ones from last Halloween who wound up playing pin the tail on the bartender.
The very same, the Pusan Piranhas. But this year they had to promise to let their hair down. You sure you won't reconsider, Charles? It sounds like your kind of crowd.
As long as you're already wearing a mask.
Thank you. No, I'm on duty tonight. I have no doubt that an evening of illness and human suffering will be infinitely more entertaining.
Hey, guys, can one of you come and look at...
Klinger, do you realize how many Zoots had to be killed to make that one suit?
You like it? My Uncle Habib gave it to me. He had some business setbacks. He won't be needing it for 1 to 5 years.
They should let him out and lock up the tailor.
Will you guys knock it off? The piranhas have landed at Rosie's, and already we got their first casualty.
I'm sorry, I don't remove tattoos.
How about billiard balls?
What?
A Marine got one stuck in his mouth.
There must have been some shot.
Can he breathe?
Oh, yeah, he's fine. You need a bazooka to kill those guys. He bet someone that he could put a pool ball in his mouth and then take it out.
Well, he was half right.
Maybe he'll keep him quiet for a while. The other guy said he pulls these obnoxious stunts all the time, but he needs a doctor.
Well, this certainly doesn't look like a job for Superman.
Certainly wouldn't want some clown to handle him.
Is there a doctor in the house?
I don't believe it. A pool ball?
Yep.
In the mouth?
Mm-hmm.
People say Americans are crude.
Oh, come on, Charles. Where's your Halloween spirit?
Halloween spirit? At any moment, a wounded soldier could come in here, truly needing my services. What am I doing? I am treating some leather brain who literally decided to have a ball. I will show him some Halloween spirit. Hello, I'm Dr. Winchester. And your name is? Would that be with one M or two? Of course. Three. Now then, what seems to be the problem? Now, my dear lad, don't be shy. The doctor is your friend. You seem to be a bit congested. Be a little frog in your throat? Could you cough for the doctor, please? Oh, my dear man, how can I discover what's wrong with you if you will not cooperate? Oh, I see. You want me to take your temperature. I can do that. Sure. You realize you have something in your mouth? What on earth could that be? Oh, looky. A little 6 painted on it. Could that be how old you are? Oh, now I see. You may not realize this, but you have a pool ball lodged in your mouth. No sweat. There is an alternative. I'll just take your temperature the other way. Well, now, don't get mad at me, chum. I mean, if you didn't have that silly pool ball in there, I could stick the thermometer in your mouth. Wait, I got a crazy idea. No, this just might work. What if I were to remove the ball? How would I do that? Let's see. What to do? I know. I shall pull all your teeth. Come on, sport. You're a Marine or a mouse. Could use a muscle relaxant. That ought to do the trick. But it is the wimp's way out. Be forewarned, Private Moscone. The next time we meet, I plan to perform major surgery, whether you need it or not.
Gee, Beach, I thought you'd have one of those cute little clown cars for us.
Bozo Jr.'s using it tonight.
Howdy, partners. Going our way?
If it isn't Buffalo Bob and Madam Woo!
Now I know why cowboys are bow-legged. Chaps chafe. My, that's quite a dress you don't have on. What a waste of my X-ray vision.
Now shut your flap.
You gotta admit, Margaret, that slit is as high as an elephant's thigh.
When will you two ever get out of puberty?
He's in puberty. I'm in love.
Germ.
Attention all personnel. Some party guests have arrived, dressed as wounded soldiers.
slashers. Too bad the enemy was dressed to kill, huh?
I need a doctor if I've got a belly wound.
Free out, stand.
What's with the toe tag? Battalion 8 sending their dead?
Tommy's got a push on. Battalion 8 had to move back. We were the only way to get him out.
I need a doctor here.
Honeycutt, help the living.
Catholic. Where's Father Mulcahy?
He's at the orphanage, having a Halloween party for the kids.
Better call Graves Registration to come by for that boy. Yes, sir. Halloween in Korea, bobbing for shrapnel.
What in blazes is going on over there?
Piranha's probably found a winner for pin the tail on the bartender.
If they got returns on their empties, they'd get a fortune on their heads.
Now what?
Uh-oh, I better go check. It's got to be the generator.
Maybe one of the Marines tried to swallow it. When I was a kid, Halloween wasn't for getting pie-eyed, it was for getting the skivvies scared off of you. Come now, Colonel, hobgoblins are the hobgoblins of Little Mines. Oh, I don't know about that. I've seen some pretty odd things in my day. One night back in '39, Mildred had a dream that her brother Calvin came into the room, sat down at the foot of her bed, and shook his head at her kind of sadly. It was so real, she felt she could reach out and touch him. In the morning, we got a phone call that Calvin had died of a heart attack. Mildred got on the phone to her sister Louise. Before she could get a word out, Louise said, "It's bad news, isn't it?" She said, "I had a dream last night that Calvin came and sat at the foot of my bed and shook his head at me." Well, it's a sad tale, Colonel, but surely coincidence explains it. Not to me, it doesn't.
I got bad news and bad news. The generator's on half power, but the bullets are full strength. There's more wounded in the compound.
You see to it that every unnecessary light in this camp is doused. I'm free. Anyone else?
Colonel, dark out there.
Don't worry, son. I'll hold your hand. I'll take this one. What happened, son?
A few of us were on patrol. Someone stepped on a mine. My leg feels like it's on fire.
Compound lead fracture. Prep him. Be careful. I don't like the way that bone's sticking out there. You're gonna be fine. Just relax.
How you doing, pal?
I guess I bumped my head, Doc.
Smells like you had a few dozen drinks to kill the pain.
Oh. Well, us Marines were just having a little party, too.
Yeah, I know. We almost called the cops on account of the noise.
Yeah, it was great. Me and this corporal decided to have a little Jeep race. Backward. Boy, don't ever race a Jeep backward, Doc.
I'll try to remember that.
Oh, it was going great. I was ahead. Or was it behind? Anyway, this dumb chicken gets in the way, so I swerved to miss it. And I did. Unfortunately, I ran over the whole chicken coop.
Gee, I'm sorry to hear that.
Nah, it's okay. I won anyway. Just got a few shell fragments.
Come on, wrong way. As funny as you are smart.
Thanks. Jeez, I got fenders everywhere.
So my uncle is way out at sea. His compass is broken, no radio, and there's a storm coming up. Through the fog, he sees this old fishing boat, the Luck of the Irish, chugging along like it knows where it's going. So he follows it, and it leads him safely back to port. As my uncle is tying up, the boat turns around and sails off into the fog.
Boy, I'm all a quiver.
And not finished yet. The next day, when he told the Coast Guard how he found his way back, he told them the Luck of the Irish had broken up and sunk 20 years before.
Oh, come on now, Pierce. We're all adults here. Lamp.
Wow, 20 years.
No, not in 20 years. No.
I don't know about you, Charles, but that certainly made my flesh crawl.
Good. Have a crawl over to my place tonight.
You haven't got a prayer, even with the luck of the Irish.
Here's the x-ray of that compound fracture.
Damn. Been poking around people's bodies for 30 years, but this is one thing I'll never get used to.
What is it?
This protruding bone. It can be removed completely. You'll be better off without it.
I don't understand.
It ain't his. Probably belonged to the man in front of him. The mine explosion drove it right into this boy's leg like a spear.
Oh, my God.
More wounded in the compound. They're litter to litter.
This kid would rather I didn't leave just now.
I'll go. Close work. Actually, I'd prefer the privacy of a phone booth. The way I see it, the Army owes us so many coffee breaks, we should get 1954 off. What do we got here?
Shoulder wound, doctor.
Yeah, that's not too bad. How do you feel?
I'll live.
You sure will. Don't worry, I've never lost a patient. I never lose anything. Have you seen my stethoscope? Hang in there. Better get some x-rays on him.
Right.
He's so thin, you could probably just hold him up to the light. Can't somebody at least cover up this poor guy?
I'll get a sheet.
After her husband's funeral, she decided to take a picture of the car wreck for insurance purposes. When the photo came back from the drugstore, standing in front of the car was her husband, wearing the suit she bought to bury him.
You know what's frightening is that so many idiots could be in one room at the same time.
Doctor, I'm getting an irregular pulse.
What were his electrolytes?
Didn't get any in pre-op.
What's going on?
It's that skinny kid they just brought in. We put him under, and now he's got an arrhythmia.
If he had any dysrhythmia, he wouldn't have passed his Army physical.
Yeah, well, there's no time to call his draft board. We got to get him stabilized. Better draw some blood and get a set of electrolytes.
He's doing a little better.
Let's get this finished up as soon as possible. We're shifting into overdrive.
Neighborhood broken record. We got wounded. We got wounded.
Damn! Shrapnel in the leg.
Excuse me, sir. I'm looking for the CO.
Look no further. Give him morphine.
I understand you have a Marine corporal here, Roboski. He came in earlier.
Him and a lot of others.
Well, this is the one who had the Jeep accident, sir, backed into a chicken coop.
Not now, Sergeant.
I'll only take a second, sir. I just want you to know that man should be considered a prisoner and confined to his bed.
Sergeant, see this red all over my hands? I ain't been painting.
Give me a break, Colonel. You know how touchy the Army is about this sort of thing. We ain't only responsible for those chickens, but for all the eggs they would have laid.
Listen, damn it, we got enough wounded here to hold us through WW4. I personally have a dozen types of blood squishing in my boots. I am tired. I am discouraged. And I don't give a damn about any blessed chickens. Got it?
Colonel, look, Graves registration.
That's him.
Sign here, sir.
Sure, why not? He's just another number, right?
Sir?
Forget it. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to keep you boys from getting any busier.
Order rounds. The old man must have saddle sores. Yeah. Well, let's get him loaded up and then get some coffee. Good idea. I'm dead on my feet.
Here are the test results, Doctor.
Thought so. His electrolytes are lousy. Potassium's real low. Well, I'm not surprised. This kid's about 20 pounds underweight. What do you think?
Malnutrition?
That's all I can figure. We gotta get some food into this guy.
It'll be the first time the mess tent ever saved a life.
I don't want to hear it, Klinger.
I don't want to say it, sir.
Major? Damn.
Good heavens, more Halloween is.
Guess I had a little accident, sir.
Of course, you were dropped on your head when you were a child. What happened recently?
I sure made a mess out of my hand, sir.
I hope you got the license number of the jaw that jumped in front of theirs.
Wasn't a jaw. It was a fan.
Fan. Oh, a rabid admirer, eh?
Electric fan. I bet this guy at Rosie's I could stick my hand in it and pull it out before it got all sliced up.
Congratulations. You've just answered the question. What is the lowest form of marine life? Well, you're lucky it doesn't seem to be any tendon damage. I want you to go through that door, right there, eh? And tell the nurse you have a boo-boo, and she'll clean that out for you. Just for the hell of it, why don't you have your head x-rayed? See if anything shows up.
You're 1 in a million, Doc.
That means so much coming from you.
Hi, I brought you something. Voila, pumpkin pie. I almost became a casualty saving the last piece for you. It's not bad.
Take it away, Doc.
You're suffering from malnutrition. You really ought to try to eat something.
Don't.
Go ahead, it's delicious. What gives?
Nothing.
No, our food is lousy, but nobody does that without a damn good reason. Whatever's bothering you is not going to go away unless you talk about it.
A couple of weeks ago, we were in heavy fighting near Heartbreak Ridge. We held off a bad Chinese assault for days. They threw everything they had at us, even hand-to-hand combat. We stood our ground. They finally withdrew. Our CO was real proud of us. Thought we deserved an early Thanksgiving, so got some turkey sent down special. Even had stuffing. Bertelson, Worcester, Greenwade, and me found ourselves an empty foxhole. Started to chow down. It was the first laugh we had in weeks. I ate real fast. I didn't want to miss out on seconds. I was standing in the chow line getting my tray loaded down again. All of a sudden, there's an artillery burst. Just for a minute, you know? When I ran back to the foxhole, my buddies were dead. Every one of them. They all looked so surprised. I'd be dead too if I hadn't been such a pig.
Yeah, maybe since then.
I can't even look at food.
Scholar. I know it's rough, but you don't need. You could die. I know a doctor, Sidney Friedman. He helps people work things out. He's got a shoulder big enough for the whole world to live. I'd like you to talk. What do you say?
How could anybody make me forget what happened?
Nobody forgets what happens. The secret is learning to live with it. For all of us. Hiya, Father. You look pretty beat.
Boy, those children sure ran me ragged. You don't look so invincible yourself.
Yeah, well, things got a little hectic here, too.
Oh, my. Casualties?
Lot.
Any deaths?
Just one, and he came in dead. Matter of fact, he was Catholic.
Well, is he still here? He should get last rites.
He's, I think those guys are taking him now.
Oh! Hey! Hold that truck!
What is it, Father?
The dead soldier you're carrying. He hasn't had last rites.
Okay, Father. I guess it's the least we can do for him.
Christum Sanctam Oxionem Dulce Tibi Dominus Qui Tele Christi Pi Christum. Oh my God. Hawkeye!
Gentlemen, I want to thank you. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking up the time we would normally have frittered away on casualties of a far less ludicrous nature than yours. You will undoubtedly be returning to the pool halls of Montezuma, and you to receive advanced training in hand-to-fan combat.
Gee, Major, we're just letting off a little steam.
Well, perhaps sometime in the future you might try to act a little more like mature adults.
From now on, I promise I'll try to act just like him.
Well, he is from California.
How's he doing?
He seems to be resting easy.
I just can't believe the battalion aide declared him dead.
Well, I wouldn't condemn those folks at Battalion Aid so fast.
They're moving out. All hell is breaking loose. A man comes through with no pulse, no heartbeat, more holes in him than a golf course.
Well, then you'd have thought somebody here would have checked him out.
Well, once you see that toe tag, you got to assume he's got both feet in the grave.
It's the first time I've heard of where being dead wasn't terminal.
Welcome to the club, Padre. You saved a life.
Well, no, Well, I guess I was in communication with the one who did it.
Weird. I've never seen anything like it.
This is definitely one ghost story nobody's going to top.
Hanukkah, you hear that?
Just turn the burners on. There's wooden skewers in there. Okay. I think it would be beneficial. Can just mark them. Just use the same one. I'll get a beaker. A new one that's going to be a plastic container.